Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Welcome back to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters, and today we are going to dive into love. Love, love, love. It's something we all yearn for. It's innately, inherently part of our fabric of our soul. We want to be loved. We want to give love. It is our God-given right. But a lot of people where is this partner? You might be blessed that you're in a wonderful partnership, but what do people do nowadays to find love or to even prepare for love? So there's things that you can do to prepare yourself by working on yourself so you can magnetize in that right partner. There's places that you can go to. I mean, we're in the middle of COVID, so the traditional ways of meeting people are gone for now. You can meet them through masks, we're starting to recognize when people are smiling behind their mask, there's a little crinkle in their eye and there's a little lift in their cheeks. So, that can happen, but we have to reinvent the ways that we are meeting people. One of those ways is, of course, online. This was really becoming big before COVID, and a lot of people have met online. In fact, 1 in 5 committed relationships begin online. Now, what if there was a way that you could increase your chances of meeting someone that is more in alignment with what you value most? I've been on the personal development path for years, and to find somebody that has been working on themselves, that believes in a lot of the things that I believe in, and I could find them in one place and one site, oh my gosh, hands down, hello, I want to be there. And in fact, there is one, and that is my guest today, Tina Jesso, who launched a site called LoveinSync, where we could find others that are on the personal development path. Tina has taken what she has learned from her years in the dating world, all the lessons that she's learned, and her passion for self-development, and co-founded LoveinSync with her partner, Susan Hum. Tina's passion-filled life fueled her to go through her own transformations while achieving a high level of success financially and in her career. She has coached many people in her business to achieve financial successes as well as achieving top awards in sales and recruitment. Tina is a Jack Canfield success trainer and is a certified passion test facilitator. Her many years of experience and intimate knowledge with the online dating industry is also a very valuable quality, as she will guide LoveinSync to fill those gaps of what it really takes to effectively help people achieve their goals in life and love. Welcome, Tina, to the Awaken Heart Podcast.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here with you. I just feel this deja vu going on with you right now. It's been forever since we had gotten together, and I'm so excited to have our chat today.
I know, I'm so excited. It's so natural. So Tina and I, about a year ago, we were doing, what was our dating show? We were doing
Love Talks.
Love Talks, but I just brain farted there. So yeah, she and I were doing love talks once a week on live video, and we had this group called the Facebook Live Challenge, and we talked about all different things about love. We talked about dating tips, and then we talked about how women can keep themselves safe out there and to listen to their instincts, and it was just so much fun. We talked about the divine feminine, and we had Frank Clark on last week, and he was one of ours on the men's week, where we were getting breakups from a men's perspective. So Tina and I go back, and though we've never met in person, I feel very close to her. You should see her beautiful, shiny, smiley face right here. So she lives in Montreal, and I'm in Portland. So we're like total countries apart. I mean, I started in California and then moved up to Portland. So, but I feel like I've known Tina forever, and she's such a wonderful, sweet, exuberantly lovely lady. So
back at you. Oh my God. We always have such fun when we chat.
yes. So we're talking about love in this episode, and Tina knows all about love. And I know I gave a little bit of an intro about her, but Tina, if you could let our listeners know kind of a little bit about your background, how you started, and what led you to getting into the love field.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So I did 2 years ago a complete about face. I went 180 degrees from financial services into the love game after 32 years. It was like a huge switch. And but what led me to that point is really important. And from a young age, I kind of followed my heart a little bit like you, Nancy. We follow our gut instincts and what we really feel internally is good for us. So I started off in a small little fishing village in a rural area of Newfoundland, Canada, living on the ocean, which was absolutely gorgeous. However, it's very sheltered. Right. And I just knew there was more to life than there, although it's really a good quality life, lots of family and the ocean and great food, great fish. But yeah, following the calling of my heart of wanting to discover more, I decided to move to Quebec or Montreal and learn French first and foremost. And then after getting my business degree, I had, interviews for different types of jobs, but I decided to go for a job that was following one of my core values, which is education. So I took a job in financial services, helping families plan for their kids' education, but I was on straight commission. I had no money in my pocket. I had enough for 1 month's rent. And I just said, this is going to work because I love what I'm doing, because I'm going to help other families avoid the problem I had now, which was reimbursing a huge student debt. Mm-hmm. So things just worked. It's kind of, we've all heard the expression, burn your boats, right? Burn your boats behind you. And I had definitely done that. So I felt like I didn't have a choice but to succeed. And you know what? Just like with you, when you follow your heart, generally speaking, you're ready, you're open to learning. And if you're open to learning and, just have that burning ambition and keep your heart open to all possibilities, mm-hmm. then really, miracles can kind of happen. So here I am, this little girl, rarely spoke the language. And after a certain number of years, within 10 years, I had already built up one of the largest financial services agencies for this company that they ever had. Wow. And when I left 2 years ago, they inducted me into their Hall of Fame. I had won, most of their trips and their prizes and all that. I'm not saying that for any accolades or anything like that. It's just to say that for any of us that has a burning desire, mm-hmm. right, to follow our dreams, there are just wonderful rewards and because on the other side of that, and because I had that, kind of financial security going on, I could just stop that. And then moving forward, just decided to launch this dating website mm-hmm. for those that are also share one of my passions, which is for personal development. So myself and, as you know, my friend and co-founder, Susan Hum, we started LoveinSync 2 years ago, in part because of my crazy dating experiences. We've had so many chats about that on Love Talks, right? All of the stuff that goes on there. And we were in Love Talks, that's what we were doing. We were just giving a bit of our experience and maybe some suggestions of things we've tried or friends, just to make it a much more enriching experience. So that's what I wanted to do, bring together people who share that common value of self-improvement, right? And mm-hmm. moving on, because there's nothing worse in life, I think, is when you have a partner where one is moving ahead and the other one is content to stay where they are. You know mm-hmm. what I mean? So if you can if you happen to be single and you have a choice of coming together with a group that have that common value, well, maybe that can, make a difference in people's lives. So yeah, so that's where I am.
I think that's so cool because people are literally coming in knowing that that is paramount in their lives, is to improve themselves and to develop themselves further. So that just takes a lot of the guesswork out of the, a lot of the other sites and a lot of the other apps, because you don't know if they're really working on themselves, because that is like one of the most important things to prepare yourself for love, is to become whole with yourself. Now, how would you suggest to some people that, they're already on the personal development path? How would you suggest to people that are, maybe just beginning that path? What are some of the steps you would have them take in order to prepare themselves for love?
Wow, that is such a great question. And what's even greater is that we kind of had this conversation a couple of days ago. We were talking about dating because we're both kind of in that game still. So I would say it starts with simply a simple step, but it can make all the difference. Yes. Ready for love. You have to kind of put it out there that you're ready for love. And what happens is that, especially as a woman, that when you literally say those words, I'm ready for love, and then you kind of try to connect to your heart and open up your heart at the same time, just feel it literally opening. Then what happens, and I love this explanation, that scientifically speaking, your estrogen levels go up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what are men attracted to? Women that have high estrogen levels.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, I've seen so many women over the years, and I get this question. I'm sure you get this question all the time too, Nancy. Like, how does a gal like you not have like 1,000 guys lined up outside your door? I know, I'm shrugging my shoulders too. But I think part of it is too, we've become we're working on ourselves, and we've become kind of independent beings, and we have such wonderful friendships like you and I, like we have other support groups around us and our family and all of that, that sometimes we have a tendency of thinking to ourselves, well, if it doesn't work out with a guy, that's okay. I'm still working on myself. I still have these great friends. I still have this great career path. But what's happening without us even being cognizant of it is that our heart is slowly closing off to finding love,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you just got to put that declaration out there like you just did,
Yeah.
that you're ready for love. That's, I think, the very important first step.
Yeah, and I was just reading Joe Dispenza. I love him. He does a lot of stuff on heart coherence, and the electromagnetic field around the heart is 5,000 times greater than that of the mind. So if you can connect from your thought into your heart, it's has such a broader reach, and it affects much more around you, like way, way more than what the mind does. 5,000 times greater than thought.
So that's just another support for that. And I just had another thought as you were saying this, and I think this is really, really important, and that is I've been trying to make it a daily practice, right? To try to lead with my heart, as opposed, because I have a thinking kind of personality, where my head, gets involved, and I tend to go with that. So I'm trying to balance myself out. I'm not trying to deny who I am. We never can do that, but I'm just trying to be a little more balanced. So I find that whenever I think consciously about leading from my heart, where I'm having a meaningful conversation or any kind of conversation really, or trying to make a decision, then it affects my level of listening. So imagine you and I are talking to each other, or you're talking to a potential love interest, and you're really feeling it for who that person is from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're always acting in the best interest of them, instead of thinking in the back of your mind, oh, I think maybe he's a bit too short. Oh, I'm not so sure about how he's eating that muffin. Like that. Whereas if you're listening to where it's coming from in his energy, because you're listening from your heart, you'll get so much more out of it than turning it into, which I tended to do in the past, kind of turn it into a job interview, right?
Mm. What color do you like? What car do you drive? Okay, next, tick, 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 tick. That never
Exactly.
works. Never works. And think
That's
about it, leading with your heart. Like if you're just sitting there, breathe into that. And it's literally about sitting up and pulling the shoulders back. Like when I think about tapping into my heart, I always close my eyes when I think about it, but like just pulling the shoulders back, that's exposing your heart.
yeah.
And picturing like, you could do something where you wake up in the morning and just have white light, or picture the pink energy coming into your heart. And literally when you do focus on that, you can I feel it in my heart. So it's leading with that more. I mean, as single independent women, we have a lot going on. We do tend to be in our minds a lot, in our brains a lot, but just taking that moment to just tap into your heart just does a lot, especially as feminine, as sacred feminine, as divine feminine. And that's where we need to live for. And it's magnetic to men. And we're not doing it because of men, we're doing it for ourselves. And when we do it for ourselves, it comes out naturally and men are attracted to it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And as women, I think, or as people in general, don't we want to experience all feelings in the spectrum, and don't we want to open ourselves to love, even if, yes, I understand there's a potential to be hurt, yes, there's a potential for all kinds of things, but one of the biggest phrases, and I like to mention that too, one of the biggest quotes that affected me in my life, I remember reading this when I was like around 12 years old, and it's really only later on in life I realized to what extent it did affect my choices. And that is a quote that I read in the Reader's Digest. It went along the lines of not dying with your music still in you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's kind of like not dying with the love still in you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can apply it to so many different levels. And I think that's really, really important. I'm going to throw something out there for dating because you were
Okay.
asking about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So it's all kind of, it's tied together really. So one thing that I've been trying to do recently, and it's really working out well, is that challenge ourselves to date someone that is not our type, not our physical type, because there are those really better qualified than me, like John Gray in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, who says there's a big danger sign. When you're really, really super attracted to someone, that's not the guy for you, or that's not the girl for you. Because the chemistry is short-lived. The chemistry will burn out after a while. And I know I've been guilty of this, I don't know about you, Nancy, or any of your listeners, is that when I'm super attracted to someone, I'm trying to do everything I can to make him like me, instead of me evaluating, is he really the guy for me?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily 100% myself. So eventually in a relationship, you will be 100% yourself. So what's going to happen then? And also, I ignore the little danger signs, the little things that my body, we've had so many conversations about that, right? When we ignore our body's wisdom, it comes up to bite us in some way, shape, or form later on. So sometimes we tend to ignore our body's wisdom. We ignore the stuff that really maybe is a deal breaker for us, even because we're so hyper attracted to the person.
Mm-hmm.
So John Gray's advice, which I have been taking recently, like I said, is to, before I go out with someone, there's certain standards that we all have, right? They have to have, they have to have some good qualities from what we can get anyway, from a dating profile and a couple of conversations. And then even though, someone is not at least 6 foot tall, he's not dark and swarthy or like in super duper good shape, those superficial things I've been kind of putting to one side. And if it seems like a really solid guy where there is a certain level of attraction, but not off the charts, then I'll try. That's part of my experience. That's part of my collecting data. And part of dating is collecting data, right? And really finding out, is what you wanted 10 years ago or 5 years ago when you were dating, is it really what you want right now, right? And the only way you're going to find out is go out and try it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you can really focus more on the individual and practice those, deeper levels of listening and all that. And it's really worked out for me recently. So, yeah.
I know it has. Tina's always got some little loves going on. Like putting yourself out there, man. Yeah. Who couldn't be attracted to this woman here? Right. But there's also another thing that doesn't mean that you can't be like super attracted to the person. And I know I've acted different. I've been a little nervous and stuff sometimes too, but you get to a certain point where, okay, yes, I'm attracted to this person right away, but I still learn to investigate. Okay, is this person, how is he showing up? Like, not erasing just because he's good looking. Like, where is he in his life? Does he have room in his heart for someone like me? Does he have he says he wants a partner, but is he ready for it at this point in his life? So I've learned how to not fantasize or project how this person is or how I want him to be. I'm taking him as he is right now in this moment. Is this okay for me? Even though like the first date you get carried away, like, oh my God, I'm feeling something again and I'm not dead inside. But I'm not, and the hormones get over, but I know like when you first feel those feelings, there's a chemical cocktail going through my body. So 2 days later, after I got down that cocktail high, I knew what was happening. I knew what was happening with my body. Oh my gosh, it was those hormones going crazy. And that's why it's important, I think, not to get physical with somebody right away, because you're not going to be able to think properly. Your judgment's going to be skewed because you've got this chemical cocktail running through your body. So that's what led me to being attached to people way earlier back in the past, is because, you'd have that physical bonding, And it just skews all your judgment because then you're there for the physical attraction before really getting to know the person. But in the past, before all these dating apps and everything, I could maybe sleep with someone on the third date and it would turn into a relationship. I think things have changed or maybe I've just gotten older. I think that's what's happened with me.
Well, one of the keys I think to success in dating is knowing what you want. So if you come to the table already knowing what you want, then you're ahead of the game, that's for sure. And realizing that what you wanted 10 years ago is not necessarily what you wanted right away. And even though things have changed and you kind of long for the days of the past, it's really important to love the self-worth aspect, right? And, have compassion also for where you are right now. And, whereas we might have been footloose and fancy free, especially after a divorce, right? You just want to kick up your heels and have fun for a little while, right? But there comes a time, at least recognize where you are. And I'm definitely there. I think you're there as well, looking for a really deep and meaningful long-term love relationship. Yeah. And there's so many tools out there. And I have to say, one of my favorite books that I'm following so far, well, Ariel Ford has an amazing book, The Soulmate, Finding Your Soulmate, and also John Gray with, he wrote the original, this one, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, but his one on Mars and Venus on a Date is fabulous, is really fabulous. So one other thing that he said, which I think is really important, he's in his, his 60s or 70s. So he just lets things fly. And I think it's great. He just speaks really frankly and to the point. He said, tell me if you agree with this, okay? He says, men want one thing, women want one thing. What the men want, they want sex. Like, don't kid yourself. They want sex. Women, what you want is relationships. So here's how it can work, right? And he has this book. And part of it is that if men get what they want, it's all good. If the men and the women are at the stage of wanting sex, because that could be for different reasons, and they both, get together at an early stage and they both get what they want, that's fabulous. But if you're looking for a long-term relationship, women, if you sleep, just like you said, if you get physical with them right at the beginning, they've gotten what they wanted, right? So then and because there's no stable base or no real connection underneath the physical necessarily, because you haven't had the time, it takes a month, 2 months, or whatever it is really to get to know someone. Because that stability isn't there, that connection isn't there, it's very easy for it to break apart. It doesn't mean that all relationships that start with sex break apart and that these folks can't be together for a long time. He's not saying that, but what he's saying, chances are, and according to his many years of practice, with all these couples he's counseled, generally speaking, it doesn't work for the long term if you just jump into the physical without getting to know the person right away. So what happens, both parties get what they want, is that, so let's say that you're building a relationship, I don't know how many dates or how many get-togethers, but more than one or two, that's for sure. So you get to know each other and you build that respect. You really have a sense that I like this person. We have common values. I can talk to them and they're really open. And especially if we feel light. And how we feel light is really because we've dealt with the stuff that's happened to us in our past. It doesn't mean that it doesn't affect who we are, that it hasn't molded who we are, but we're not holding it like rocks in our backpack, ready to take one out and throw it at our new unsuspecting date because they triggered something that they weren't aware of. Right? So if you come to the table with that and you build that relationship a bit over time before you do get physical, well, you have a lot more of a base to be able to continue the relationship afterwards. And then the guy kind of wakes up and says, oh my God, sex was great, maybe even better because you know the person and you really like them to begin with. And then he knows that he wants to continue on seeing this woman, right? Because they have built the necessary base to build the chances of making it more long lasting, What do you think of that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And, back in the day, like you just triggered something in me when you were talking about how back in the day, I might have slept with someone right away or gone more for a physical attraction. And that just comes to like, I didn't know myself. And somebody had also said that I was like a guppy. I'd come, cling to whoever came along. I used to let them choose me. Now I'm in a position where I am choosing them. Like, oh, you like me? Okay, great. Okay, you're attractive. Let's get together. And I mean, I've had relationships where I've been, we mutually chose each other, but a lot of times I'd let them choose me. And this time it's like choosing them. And let's go back. What was your question?
What do you think of this whole idea of just like building a relationship before you get physical?
Absolutely. That's where I am right now. And I never understood that before. I really understand it now because you don't know this person. A lot of times, they're putting on their best foot forward. You want to see them when they're upset. You want to be able to see them when they're angry. You want to be able to have some kind of history, like daytimes together, night times together. And I think it's so important because then you're building more than just a physical bond. You're building common experiences. You're building some emotional bonding. You're building, you're just more connected spiritually, emotionally, physically. So when you do get physical, my God, like it's this, you're in love with this person, you're in love with their soul. And that just makes it, you've laid the foundation. You don't build a house on quicksand, you build it on a solid foundation. And I think that's when you can have a love that can really last.
That was a beautiful answer. That's everything in a nutshell, right? And I think it's really, really sage advice. And, part of that is really also maybe working on some listening skills, right? So you can really get to know each other. You and I have talked about this so often, that your body kind of tells you. Your body gives you signals when you're in a situation, when you're with somebody that is trustworthy, that has integrity. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're with someone who has inconsistencies in what they're saying, right, because you've been paying attention or something like that, your body will react to it. And it's really important to follow that. But there's all kinds of things that you can do to improve your own listening skills. And and this is really key too. I don't know about you, but I used to really have this tendency all the time. The first couple of dates, I would be so busy listening because I wanted to find out about the other person. I wasn't divulging much about me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I hate talking about myself. I hate talking about myself.
I know, but it's so important because how can we really build the bond if they don't know who we are? They know that they like talking to us because we're great listeners. So two things can happen, right? That they become the predominant speaker going forward because that's kind of the trend that we set, the pattern that we set. And secondly, they don't really get to know us that well. So how can we build that bond, at the same time? Because it really has to be that two-way street. And sometimes it means it being a bit vulnerable, right? And sometimes you need it. It's scary at times. It really is to talk about things like that. You might not necessarily do it on the first date, but still, I think it's an important place to walk through because what it does is it shows trust. It shows trust.
Yeah, and it's really important to be yourself. Like you don't have to air all your dirty laundry on the first date, but if you're fun loving, you like hear a nice tune and you want to dance, like that's me. I'm just like I hear something, I start dancing. I'm a fun person, and I think it's really important to be yourself and not put the mask on because eventually the masks are going to fall off. So be as true to yourself as you can possibly be without, letting all the skeletons in the closets out all at once, where it is close to Halloween where they'll be running away from all your ghosts. But yeah, I think that's so important. And what are some suggestions, would you say, for having a really good first date?
That's such a great question, especially with what's still going on with COVID, right? And we just shut down a little bit here in Montreal as well. So it's it's very timely question. And this is one side good benefit of COVID is the fact that people aren't getting out quite as much and they're not getting together in real life. So a lot of things are happening through in the dating world. Actually, you know what? Online dating activity has gone up by at least 20% since COVID hit. So it's just people looking for a contact. And as you and I can actually attest to, you can make a meaningful connection with somebody on a Zoom call because, honey, that's all we've been doing since we knew each other over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's through Zoom calls, yet I feel this amazing connection to you. So if we could do it on a level of friendship, right? You can do that as well, with dating. So that could be one option, especially if they happen to be for now, like in a different state or in a different city or country. And also, nothing like a great walk outside. And you and I love nature, right? So, and try to find something that normally you would like. so that you could see if they would normally like that, because you want to have some common ground maybe with some type of, certain types of activities that you like to do on a regular basis. And for sure, a coffee or something like that. And I always look for the little things on the first date as well. If you're going out somewhere, how do they treat the staff,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's around. How often do they smile? Are they looking at their phone on a regular basis?
No.
Right? Or are they, their body language? Are they leaning in towards me or just like on the side giving me the one eye? And how can we show that we're interested as women? Because we have our femininity to work with, right? So anytime we're leaning in towards them, or it's age old stuff that we flick our, hair over our shoulder or laugh a little bit, or I don't know, cross your legs. If you cross your legs, like put a leg towards them as opposed to in front. I heard this from a body language expert, right? So anything like that, or, if you have an excuse to lean forward, if they have a piece of lint on their sleeve or something like that, or, a great jacket, just, kind of touch the sleeve of the jacket, just, oh, this is
You
great.
just dropped right into your feminine there, talking about all this stuff. Totally did. Yeah. So if you're interested in them, of course, if you're not, you're not interested in them, you're not going to lean and pick off lint off or touch their sleeve. You just want to touch them at a certain point. It's like, yeah, little touches, you go to the bathroom, you come back, you touch their shoulder before you sitting back down, or laughing, like the Elaine from Seinfeld. Not that hard, but just kind of touch. Get out of here.
And you know what? There's something you could do for your first date as well. And if you don't mind, by putting a little plug for my speed dating, I have weekly speed dating with LoveinSync that I host every Thursday night, and we have so much fun. It's crazy. So you never have to leave your home. You only have to dress up from the waist up. And then I always co-host it. It's so much fun with another fun dating coach. And we've had guys and girls come on, and we lead a discussion on something like how to handle rejection, right? How to really listen to what a person is saying, how to read their body language. And last week it was building up, we talked about building up confidence, dating confidence. And then everybody joins in. We started, we're kind of all strangers. And then by the end, it's it's so much fun. So, and on regular intervals, we have the speed dating for 5 minutes. So I put couples that are pre-matched into a breakout room for 5 minutes. So they get to date in private for 5 minutes and then come back to the general room. Then I get another couple on the go doing speed dating. So it's so much fun. So it's free. You don't have to leave your home. And do you know the average American spends $100 when they go out for a date? So imagine you get 5 days for free. You save $500.
That's great. And then, like, I want to really spend $100 on this person, like if it goes forward. That's great. I know you've been asking me to come and join one. I definitely want to come join one soon. I'll put it in the show notes so anybody listening can go on over and have some speed dating. It's, men, you can save that money and meet some fantastic woman. It sounds like a lot of fun. How long does it last? About an hour?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Great. How many do you usually have on a call like that?
Yeah, so it varies a bit. So we've had anywhere from 8 to, I think we were as high as 18. Yeah.
Wow.
At one time. Yeah. So it's great because sometimes people don't, this is fun actually. Sometimes people don't show up, so they confirm. So all of a sudden I've got, 8 women and 6 men. Right. So what do you do then? Because there's 2 women left over after every date. So what I do is I created something called a VIP room. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that they stay with myself and the other dating coach, and they get to ask, it's no holds barred, right? They get to ask any type of dating question or love and relationship question. And then at the last session, the girls were saying, we don't want our dates. We just want to stay in the VIP section.
Oh yeah, that was great. They get little counseling. They get all this information from you, love experts, and then they get to meet a nice man. So sounds pretty awesome. You guys figured this whole COVID thing out. But even without the COVID thing, like a lot of them, with the Zoom being so popular and FaceTime, it's such a great way to save yourself time, and you can really get to know somebody through a FaceTime or Zoom and to see if you even want to go on that date. I think there's nothing said like, actually meeting in person, but sometimes the physicality, or they can't even talk, or you can't even have a conversation, and that saves you. So technology and, having to slow down and do things differently is really helping a lot. That's one of the good benefits of everything that's happening right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's a really good thing to practice your dating skills. And even if you come on, let's say you're from Portland and you see that for that particular night, most of the guys are from New York and it's across the coast, doesn't matter, right? You're building connections with someone and you're practicing your dating skills and you're learning new tips and tricks at the same time. And when COVID comes off, who knows, right? So some of our couples have connected and they live in different states, and this just after COVID kind of calms down, they have plans to get together. So you never know what can happen.
You never know. You never know where that true love is, somewhere, anywhere in the world right now. So that's what's great about all this. I wanted to ask you, I know you've dated a lot and you've had a lot of experience. What is one of the key points, one or two of the key points that you've learned through your dating mistakes?
Yeah, oh my, that is such a good question. I think we already touched on the first one, is that I don't go into the first or second dates anymore with this kind of interview mentality that I'm going to see exactly who you are and just answer all these questions, and then I'll make a decision if I go forward or not. Now I just treat it as basically I'm going out to have fun. I'm getting to know somebody interesting because they've kind of been pre-qualified in the sense that I never go on a first date. And that's another huge lesson, actually, is that I never go on a first date without having a video conversation with them. Not just a phone conversation, but a video conversation. Because this is one of my lessons. I've been catfished before, right? We talked about that one. That was a big catfish story, right? And I thought I was involved with someone for like a month and a half, and it turned out that he was a complete fraud artist. And every time I tried to have a video call, he would say that there was something wrong with his camera or something like that. So, and I spoke to him many times on the phone, like, really, really nice guy. Obviously, that didn't work out. So now I will not go out on that first date without either a FaceTime or a Zoom call. And when I get together, it's just really enjoying the person and practicing the deep listening skills, really. And that is listening to understand as opposed to listening to respond. You know what I mean? So listening to respond is kind of like, okay, so you just told me, for example, about a date, one of your dating mishaps, right? And then I say back, well, I had a terrible experience also, blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying something like, well, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Can you tell me more? Or what was the biggest takeaway for you in that? You know what I mean? It's just to go deeper with the person, show them that you're listened, and also you're empathetic to what they've gone through, and you're interested in learning more about how you handled the situation instead of lining you up to tell you my story. Right? That is really significant in getting to know somebody, right? You can learn more, and the other person will really appreciate that effort.
Yeah, I think that's so, so important because it's really showing that you're listening to them and they're able to reveal more about themselves at that point.
Exactly. And that gives you better clues, right? That really gives you some important clues as to who they really are. And you're going deep. You're not superficial.
Yeah.
You're not floating on the surface anymore. Right. And you know what? These types of skills, which I really love, the skills that you're picking up for dating are skills that are going to help you with any level of communication with anybody in your life, really.
Now, I wanted to go back to what you were saying about how you don't go on a date. It's not one thing to just talk to them on the phone, but you want to talk to them through video. I think that's so important. Now, we've gotten lost in like a texting era where they're trying to arrange dates all through text. Now, I at least want a phone conversation. And, but sometimes I don't want to get into like, I don't want to talk to them for an hour. I just want to hear their voice, save it. So how do you cut that? And then going into the video, how do you introduce the video? Because sometimes I'll get a phone conversation and they're going on for like a half an hour, but you only want to talk to them like 5-10 minutes just to hear their voice. And then how do you limit that time and then you get to the video? Is it like a video date or is it a quick, hi, how are you? Blah, 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 like 5-minute thing?
5-10 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
So I never do the phone call because I don't want to do too many steps.
Right.
So then it depends on the previous conversation, either I prefer that they suggest it, but when I see that they're going on texting and texting has been a little while and I get it, what's the point of that? I really want to kind of see them face to face on a video call. So I say, are you up for a FaceTime?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Are you up for a FaceTime? Because what that tells me, if they can react spontaneously to something like that and they're not like, I don't know, offended, if you will, well, no, you know what I mean? That says a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I like that because it's testing them at the same time. Are they able to? You and I have learned how to roll with the punches with our Facebook lives and just craziness that used to come up with some of that stuff. Right. So this type of thing doesn't faze us. I get that. So not everybody has that kind of background. But still, I mean, a simple FaceTime. Who hasn't FaceTime in this day and age or gone on a Zoom call?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're always game for it. And if they're not, then I would imagine that that's a danger signal for me if they're not up to something like that. If they say, oh, well, I prefer a telephone call, I insist.
Now, this is somebody that this is somebody that you're interested in possibly going on a date with, not somebody, there's some people that you're still chit-chatting with that you might not necessarily know if you want to go to that next step as far as a date. This is someone that you're interested in.
Yeah, exactly. So if they say, okay, would you like to get together for coffee? Mm-hmm. Right? Would you like to get together? I say, that sounds great. Can I suggest that we FaceTime first?
Perfect.
Right. And so this happened to me like in the last couple of months, at least a couple of times. And the gentlemen all responded in the same way. Great idea. When would you like to do that? I said, in one case, I said in 5 minutes. He said, okay, give me 10.
Right. I mean, for women too, like, I mean, I am in joggers half the time and light, like, okay, let me find a window because like the overhead fluorescent light it's like, okay, let me find a window, let it be in the daylight.
But it's fun because you're kind of running around a little bit flustered and you know what I mean? It's just part of the whole process. Or you could say, okay, I'm in the middle of something right now. You're in your pajamas and, things aren't right. Your lighting's not right. So just suggest a time that works. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys said, oh, I understand. You need to verify who I am. Totally understandable. Mm-hmm. That was nice.
But what if you FaceTime and then you're like, oh my gosh, like, not interested in them after that point, or they're just really not attractive to you, or they don't know how to conversate properly?
Okay, that is such a great question, and that's happened to me too. Like every situation has happened. So, if you know that pretty fast in the conversation, my body language kind of reflects it. You know what I mean? People can tell because you're smiling, you're leaning in, you know what I mean? Even on a Zoom call or a FaceTime, that you can sense that. So if it was someone, and it happened to me, that I wasn't as interested in, we had like a nice cordial conversation, but I was not flirtatious at all. I was not smiley as I can tend to be. You know what I mean? And at the end, the gentleman said, yeah, he was a very nice dentist from downtown. And he said, calm, he felt it, right? He was a smart man. He said, you're really nice. I'm really interested. Just feel free to call me at any time if you want to get together for coffee. I said, that's so sweet of you. Thank you very much. And
wow, he gave you the out.
He gave me the out. Yeah. But I think in general, people will feel it. And if he had asked me, now that's a good question. If he had asked me out directly instead of putting the ball in my court, I think I would have answered something along the lines of, that is so nice of you. It's not going to work out for right now, but I have your coordinates, I have your number, and I can get back to you. Right. And I've been really straight with people on the phone before. On the phone, anyway, there's different situations. You kind of go with the flow according to the situation. And I have said before, like this, I really enjoyed talking to you, but I don't think it's a match. You seem to be a super nice guy, but it's really not a match. And I follow my instincts, and I really prefer to be honest and upfront. And I find people are usually appreciative of that. Mm-hmm. And then I just pause. What can you say to that, right? People are usually appreciative when you're straightforward and upfront and honest.
Mm-hmm. You're letting him down nicely. And actually, like, if I had more hands, I'd be writing notes. I used to write notes about how to nicely reject someone. And I always was one during dating where if I went on a date or two, I wouldn't ghost. I would let them know, hey, I think you're a great guy. I just don't feel that thing I need to feel when for romantic relationships. I wish you the best of luck. Some girls, whatever. I just say something really nice, but on the spot in the moment, it's like, let me just get off the phone. But that's you said it in such a beautiful, nice, friendly way that they're going to feel, maybe a little disappointed, but they're going to be feeling better. And then they'll bring that to the next person that they're with. You always want to elevate the man in order to go to the next person, have the courage to be himself with the next person.
That is so well said. You're absolutely right. And I think the key is really that if you are okay with it in what you're saying, like you said, I said it okay because I was speaking from my heart. I really was. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to put myself in the other person's shoes. And that's how I would appreciate being spoken to. So if you kind of get all funny about it because you feel awkward about it and it comes out all awkward, then that's what you're left with. Even though you were honest, which is a really good thing, of course. But the more times you do that, right? Like anything, you get kind of practiced up on it. And it is the right thing. You feel it in your soul when you're saying the right thing.
Mm-hmm. And that, again, is tapping into your heart. How does love want to express itself? Before we wrap up, I had gone online and I was looking at the history of dating. And I just wanted to really quickly touch upon some of the things that happened at the turn of the century and how much things have changed. It's so funny that one of the facts is in 1900, dating could be a felony. At the turn of the last century, dating was still a new concept and law enforcement wasn't sure what to make of it, but they were sure something sordid was going on. A young man and woman meeting in public, him buying her food, drink, and gifts. Well, it was veritable prostitution in the eyes of authorities, and women could be arrested for it.
Wow.
Heavens, things have changed. And a lot of dating, a man and woman, you couldn't meet in public. And before that, they'd have to come to their home. They'd have to sit in the parlor or the family room. They'd have to meet the families. And then it became, later on, it became big business. And, as you're in that business. So what, Tina, are some of the best overall tips for daters out there that are looking for conscious love, that are looking for a real lasting love?
Okay, beautiful question. And that starts with what we already discussed. Number one is really opening up your heart to receiving love, number one. And then really being honest with yourself and deciding what you want. Who are you and how, and if you know that you have had destructive dating patterns in the past, then you need to look at that, because unless you do, you stand to probably repeat those destructive dating patterns going forward. And how do you even look at that? Because this is one area you can be I've met so many super successful people that are so unsuccessful in finding love. Why? Because we all have blind spots. And when you have blinds, and we do, it's just human nature. We can't see everything. So therefore, if we have maybe a great therapist or a coach, like some type of a dating coach or a relationship coach or a life, whatever you want to call it, someone that can really work with you to help you kind of unpack what's going on and be aware of what tendencies you have, and so that you can catch yourself from repeating the same mistakes going forward. So it starts with the inner work, self-love, self-worth, I would say, opening the heart, deciding on what you want. And I have here on my desk my love list, Nancy.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I have 14 qualities that I'm looking for in my new love. And that's really important. That's really, really important. And that kind of includes my deal breakers as well, because I was a little lax on enforcing my deal breakers in the past. And I always paid the price for that. Having an idea of what you want and recognizing especially what your core values are, right? And if they go beyond that, then what's the point of continuing and wasting your time? I'm 57. I got no time to waste. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go up, down all these dead ends like I was doing in the past, right? I really want something that has a higher chance of success. Okay, so like we said, taking care of yourself, opening your heart to love, deciding on what you want, and choosing a dating website that correlates with what you're looking for. Because there's something for everybody. If for you, like your religion or your spirituality is important, there's J date for Jewish people. There's, you know, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Catholic, whatever it is, if you have a certain ethnicity. Do you know there's even a dating site for men with beards? If women like men
Oh
with beards,
my God.
there's a dating site for that.
Yeah,
Like,
I read there's 8,000 dating sites worldwide. Over
yeah,
8,000.
exactly. Right? People who paint their toenails red. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's
Foot
just,
fetish.
so just decide what you want, and then, you know, decide, okay, so let's say that you've decided, you've gotten to this point, you found your preferred dating website. Hopefully it's LoveinSync. And then from there, you have to create a great profile, which means answering all the questions and giving a fun background, by kind of like a fun bio of who you are. And one where you're not oversharing, one where it's a bit light, but still people have an idea of who you are. And avoid saying things like, he has to be 6 feet tall, he has to have a great job, he has to be calm, he has, like, talk about yourself, right? As opposed to imposing what you want on someone else. Anyway, that's a whole science in itself, right? Creating a fun bio, and the pictures have to be up to date with no big fish, baseball hats, or sunglasses, or clown costumes.
Selfies in the mirror, weightlifting, shirt off. Oh, or where they're all selfies in bad lighting. It's like, oh.
Exactly. And that goes for the girls and the guys, because I've seen a lot of girls' pictures where there's this duck face
Yep.
all the time, right? Or they're putting their arms together so it can show more cleavage, or the skirt is, you know, a little on the high side. You know what I mean? It's, save your sexy shots for when you really got to know someone, and then it's like a private thing. You know what I mean? As opposed to exposing it to the whole world. Because basically what you're showing everybody is that you don't have standards, and you're kind of open up to all kinds of things, right? So why not put your best foot forward, really? Because this is the most, other than a relationship with yourself, this is probably the most important relationship that you'll have. And it's really worth the time to invest in some decent pictures and a great profile, and because that'll attract people to you. And I can tell you that since I've evolved and I've changed my profile, I get a lot less hits, which is great in itself, because I don't waste so much time. But the people who have responded to me are much higher caliber. So it works. All right. So that's and get on that FaceTime or that Zoom call as quickly as possible.
Well, those are some really great tips. I'm gonna have to re-listen to this recording and like write them all down in my notes here. So you were talking about higher caliber people meeting you. I know what you're moving into. You're doing matchmaking, and can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Absolutely. Thank you. So it's www.LoveinSync, LoveinSync.com. And it's an app. And so you just download it from the Google Store or Apple Play, or Google Play in the Apple Store. And on Instagram, you can get us at LoveinSync Official. Okay. And we're very, very active on Facebook. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page, and it's all under the same name, LoveinSync. Well, specifically LoveinSync dating app. And we have things going on there on a daily basis about events, the latest blogs, the latest and greatest in terms of dating. And we see all kinds of discussions taking place. It's really worth your while. Once again, it's the most important relationship that you'll probably ever have in your life. And it's really worth it to get ready for that. Because after all, the person that you're working to attract is probably out there, but there's ways of attracting them, right? There's ways of, because you want to be ready for that. You really want to be ready, and it's worth the time and investment to really talk about that. And don't put that the last thing on your priority list. That should be in your top 3 every day, like a little bit of time devoted for that. If you truly have opened your heart to finding love, and just the fact that you could meet him in the Starbucks line.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean that it has to be online, because you've opened your heart to love. And so all of a sudden you're seeing things, or guys are seeing things in you that wasn't there before, because you've been working on yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's so much more than what they're seeing on our physical body. It's our whole energetic field. And when we put intention out, it radiates from you. Like, if you're living from your heart and you're looking for love and you're ready for it, it's an unspoken energetic thing. And it goes way past just, being online. It goes way out, into your everyday world and beyond. So yeah, that just it's a big smile on my face. Like, ready for love. I'm going to go dancing around the living room floor. I'm ready for love. That's my new mantra. My new mantra.
Beautiful. You should do a video of that and put it on our Facebook, in our Facebook group.
I will. We just had Indigenous People Day. I've always had a big affinity with the Indians, so I'm just going to do an Indian dance like you're praying for rain. I'm ready for love.
I love dance. I like that.
I love dance. Well, Tina, it was wonderful having you on. One last question that I like to ask all my guests is, what does it mean for you to have an awakened heart?
Okay. That's a beautiful question. Well, I think we just covered that, right? It's just really opening your heart. You're really opening your heart. And from what I've been seeing, not only are you opening your heart to love, and, in my experience, I'm attracting a different caliber of person to me. I have better quality communication with people. And also, there's more business opportunities that are being attracted into my life right now. Right? All associated with what I'm doing with LoveinSync. But nonetheless, I believe that opening your heart opens your heart to abundance in general, not just abundance in all aspects of your life, not just in love. That's an awakened heart for me.
Beautiful answer, Tina. And thank you for this beautiful conversation. It's so good to see you on here. And I can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. It's really been great and kind of like a blast from the past. I absolutely adore you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Tina. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awakened Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenedheartpodcast.com.